Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I'm broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Always spell it with a K. A mere 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Bill Mill, the belly of the beast, the Capitol building in downtown Sacramento at 10th and L Streets, where late at night you can hear the death of common sense and its concomitant wail as it wafts from that putrefying edifice. And at the end of the show, when I exit the plush, resplendent, sumptuous, and palatial SHR Media Studios, I'll be smelling the odoriferous stench of sulfur, brimstone, and evil emanating from downtown Sacramento. Be forewarned, what you're about to hear for the next 2 hours consists of my opinion and no one else's. Unfortunately, because of the fear porn that has gripped this nation, the saloon is no longer open according to the city of Sacramento, but I am still serving stiff drinks, facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, tradition, intent, and common sense out the back door. A reminder also, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the Saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze still is not. This is 2020, ladies and gentlemen, and I am done with bipartisanship and compromise. This is the new age of modern political warfare, because make no mistake, in many senses, we are at war. I have a great show tonight. It features 2 excellent and exquisite guests. The first guest tonight is JOHN TRUMAN WOLFE. He will be here for the first hour. In the second hour, I have a returning guest, Alan Thomas, who lives in Fresno, California. We're going to be talking to him about all things unexplained and also about the wildfires that are occurring all up and down California. Always spell it with a K. And what the wildfires tend for the future of California. And also, he and I will be addressing some buttery political goodness, as usually occurs here in the Saloon. Now, for the first hour, this will be very interesting. As I've said before on any number of prior occasions, I love the internet. One of the reasons that I love the internet is I get to meet people that I have otherwise never met and likely would never have been able to meet before. And these interviews sometimes just drop into my lap, and I didn't see them coming, and this would be one of those occasions. An individual contacted SHR Media Sean Lewis regarding an interview with tonight's guest, JOHN TRUMAN WOLFE. Well, Sean referred the email to me, and I thought, hey, why not? Because the topics that were suggested sounded fabulous. The coming banking crisis and what to do about it. Oh, love to hear about that. Who is Tony Fauci? Whoa, really want to hear about that. And then 2 posed questions. What if Trump wins? What if Trump loses? So, okay, with potential topics like that, folks, I was hooked. So, my guest tonight, JOHN TRUMAN WOLFE, is a #1 best-selling and international award-winning author. His book exposing the real forces behind the global financial crisis, The Coming Financial Crisis, A Look Behind the Wizard's Curtain, became a #1 Amazon bestseller. The book, The 99 Strongest Banks in America, gives the reader almost 100 banks whose financial statements Wolfe has personally reviewed for their strength and their good financial management. Now, JOHN TRUMAN WOLFE is also the editor and publisher of Strategic Financial Intelligence, a monthly newsletter dealing with investing, politics, and the economy. Because trust me, as I've said for many a year, politics, investing, oh yes, inexorably linked. And he also hosts the JOHN TRUMAN WOLFE Financial Hour on CRN. He's been a senior credit officer for 2 California banks, one in the San Francisco Bay Area and the other in Beverly Hills. He was co-founder of the prestigious Los Angeles-based business management company, Wiseman and Burke. He has a master's degree with honors from San Jose State University and is the former chairman of the Department of History at John F. Kennedy University. I'm going to come back to that one. Clearly a very impressive CV. So I have to say, without any further ado, welcome to the Saloon, John Truman Wolfe. And it's a bit of clotted, smoke-filled, fresh California air to speak to somebody who hasn't had to stay up to 11 p.m. in order to speak to me, since most of my guests apparently events from the Eastern Seaboard, and you are here on the West Coast. So welcome, John Truman Wolfe, to the show, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks so very much. No, I'm on the West Coast with you. I'm actually located in the Los Padres National Forest, about an hour north of L.A., in the beautiful forest up here. The air's clean, the views are stunning, wildlife everywhere, and I love it up here. I was originally from San Francisco area and then moved to L.A. about 30 years ago and then moved up here to the mountains about 3 years ago. So we're broadcasting from the mountains to you guys up there in I don't know what you call Sacramento these days. A bunker? I don't know.
We'll get to that. So, John Truman Wolfe, thank you for calling. The first question I had for you, you kind of answered it already, but my first concern was, since I saw that you live up in the mountains and you're not far from Los Angeles, are there any wildfires near you? Are you safe? Are you okay?
Yeah, we're yes. The answer is yes. We are safe. There was fire down the mountain in the area of Pasadena, Altadena, which is quite a ways south from us. It's more in LA proper, LA County proper, and nothing. Last year the fires got closer, and we do a little bit take things in our hands living here in the middle of a national forest, but we're good. Things are fine up here.
That's great to hear, because in Northern California, you generally, if you escape from your home and it's not on fire, you have to chew the air to get your way to your automobile. So it's not been good. I live up kind of like in a similar situation. I've lived up in the Sierra Nevada mountains since 1993. I'm at the 4,000-foot level off of Interstate 80. So I have been dealing with wildfires all my life. I could probably talk to you cogently for at least an hour on just that topic alone. But I'm glad to hear that you're safe. Up here in Northern California, it's its own little special orange hell.
Yeah.
So to those folks that have emailed me, by the way, that have some very concerns, and there are some folks that have emailed me that have lost their homes, God bless you. My hat is off to you. Now, especially this year, I've moved a good deal of property out of my house just in case. That's the way you have to. That's
Sure.
the way you have to handle things now. But as I indicated to you, and we spoke before the show, because of my background, admittedly, it isn't in finances and financial instruments, I was a little bit hesitant to have you on the show. But on the other hand, as a Mark I, Model 1 thinking human being who has spent 7 decades on the planet, well, here's what happened. A whole galaxy of questions suddenly spun around in my fetid, thrumming wheelhouse, John Truman Wolfe. Lots of questions that I wanted to ask you tonight. And because of all those questions, I almost don't know where to start, so perhaps I should do so at the beginning, since we have a full hour tonight. I'm predicting, like I predict to all of my guests, number one, you are going to wonder where the hell the hour went at the end. And number two, I think you're going to realize in reflection, retrospect, that you had a pretty good time here tonight, because that is the goal for all of my guests. So let's start at the start. John Truman Wolfe, where were you born and raised? And kind of tell people about your formative years. Where were you born? Where were you raised? You're in California now. Were you always in California?
Yes. I'm a California native. My kids are California natives. My grandkids are California natives. This is my state, despite what the governor is trying to do with it. I was born in Berkeley at Alta Bates Hospital. My education, I was at San Jose State, got a BA there, and then a master's degree with honors in Western American history. I taught there briefly. Went from academia to the business world. My dad had a chain of furniture stores, and he came down and asked me to come up and help him run them. So I did that for a few years. And then went from there, because I was handling the credit in the stores, I went from there to banking. And so I was with a bank in the San Francisco Bay Area for some years. Got up to being the senior credit officer there. Later moved to Los Angeles and was a senior credit officer at a regional bank in Beverly Hills. And from there, hooked up with an old friend of mine, and we started a business management company. Business management is a niche industry in Los Angeles and New York. Business managers handle the business and financial affairs of entertainment people. So, working actors, actresses, producers, directors, screenwriters, rock stars, that public have business managers. And I was the CEO of that company for, 20 some odd years. I retired from there in 2006, I think it was, and I began writing at some length. And as you pointed out, I've written some books and spent a lot of my time writing my financial newsletter, Strategic Financial Intelligence. There you go, in 25 words or more.
Okay, if people want to read you, hear you, I believe you also had a radio show as well. If they want to read you, if they want to hear your radio show, if you're on social media, or you'd like to make people aware of various websites that you have, can you tell folks about that, please?
Sure. Most importantly these days, in terms of what I'm writing, if folks go to Strategic Financial Intelligence. It's a little bit of a mouthful, Mark, but strategicfinancialintelligence.com. I publish a monthly newsletter there. I focus not exclusively, but to a large degree, on precious metals, gold and silver investing, and on cryptocurrencies, and other things. I also do the radio show, and then the radio show gets transcribed. I've got, I don't know if you have this service, but I have a service where I can send the audio of the radio show to the service, and for a very nominal fee, they transcribe the entire thing. And so I send the transcription to my subscribers, so they get a weekly transcription, both audio and transcript of the radio show. And then my books are, if you go to Amazon, put in, John Truman Wolfe, and all my books will come up. I've got a detective series as well as the nonfiction stuff that I write, which is a lot more fun to write, nonfiction. I've got a private eye based in Berkeley, and it's a lot of fun. I'm into the fourth novel, the fourth of that series. So there you go.
Okay, folks, we're talking to John Truman Wolfe tonight, a financial expert. And let me here's what I forgot to do, John, is I didn't ask you if it would be acceptable if folks wanted to call in with questions. Is that okay with you?
Sure, absolutely fine.
Okay.
No problem.
All right, folks, if you do want to talk to John Truman Wolfe, you have any financial questions, we're going to get through a ton of stuff tonight. Boy, do I have questions. Like I told him, I have 10 pages of questions. And folks, you know me. After listening to me, I won't get to a fraction of this stuff, but it always pays to be over-prepared as I am. So if you want to call, and also look, let me see. Let me change this on the streaming. Okay, now if you're watching on the SHR Media YouTube channel or the SHR Media Facebook page, you can see the number to call. And for those of you just listening on Spreaker and Apple and iHeart, the number is 575-208-4481. 575-208-4481. I hate the radio announcers that go, the number is 723 and call now. No, the number is 575-208-4481. So, John Truman Wolfe, I always ask this of first-time guests, perhaps most importantly. Was there an individual upon whom you patterned and or influenced? Was there somebody primarily who influenced you that was a great influencer in terms of what you did, how you grew, and how you moved on?
It's a very good question. The financial stuff, the banking stuff, just kind of fell into my lap. I mean, my as I mentioned, my academic training, college was history, study, writing, master's thesis, teaching. So I was academic, and then as I said, my dad came down to San Jose and asked me to come up and help him with the store, which I did. And then I kind of got into the business world, and then from my old man's place, I jumped into banking. So it was kind of an odd transition, and I didn't really. It's a fair question, but I didn't really have a mentor. It was just kind of how life moved forward. I loved bank. Once I started working for the bank, I really loved it. I don't know exactly what that's all about, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Did you, John Truman Wolfe, did you have a background in mathematics at one point?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
It's just basically the whole financial world that kind of enthralled you for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it was more kind of helping people as a banker. I mean, I started out as a lending officer. I don't even know if they have such things anymore. But, it was a retail bank in Northern California, and we had a number of branches, but a small independent bank. And in the old days, people would come in and sit down at the account officer's desk and go, I want to go to Hawaii, take my family to Hawaii for vacation. I need $5,000. I want to get a loan. And in those days, you didn't necessarily have $5,000 limit credit cards, although some people did. And then you'd just be able to help people, with financial things. Customers would come in with businesses, small businesses, and need help. And I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah.
John Truman Wolfe, I don't know if anybody has asked you this before. Maybe this is heresy to ask you this. Where does your real heart lie? Is it finance, or come on, is it history? Where is it?
Oh, my heart lies as a writer, Mark. I love writing, and so the financial newsletter that I write is not kind of dry math stuff. I don't write that way, and I'm not. I got a D. One of the few D's I got in college was in economics. I don't. It was. So I try to write literarily about the global financial crisis, or the things that people don't generally understand, the World Bank or the IMF, and people have kind of heard those acronyms and don't really know what they do. So I like to explain that stuff simply. So my heart lies as a writer. I still love history. I read history. The financial stuff is, I find that people are very interested in honest, solid information about finance. I mean, after all, you need to flourish and prosper, and you need money to, support yourself, your family, your friends. If you're a business person, if you're going to negotiate a loan for your inventory, you need to understand that stuff. So I write about those things, but I do it in plain English. and people seem to like it. I just like I like the process of writing. And if the fiction sold as well as the nonfiction, all I do would be write about my private detective. But the nonfiction, the stuff about the global financial crisis, the best-selling book that you mentioned, and in that book, I caution people to stay away from the major money center banks, meaning J.P. Morgan Chase, B of A, Wells, Citibank, and I can talk about why that is. But I caution people to move to smaller regional banks, and then people. I got a lot of emails going, what banks? So, and then I did a bunch of research, and I found 100 really solid banks in the U.S. that I recommended, and so I wrote that book as well. But that's where my heart is. It's in writing.
Okay, folks, we're talking to John Truman Wolfe tonight, who writes nonfiction, we'll get to that, and also fiction. So let me throw this out here, John. I've had a whole bunch of authors on my show. One of them was George Alicio from down in San Diego, kind of down in your area. I've also spoken to Matthew Betley. I had an interview in January with Joseph Wamba. Matthew Betley, Terrence McCauley, and a couple of other authors. So I enjoy speaking to authors, the writing process, etc. So if you were ever interested in coming back, I wouldn't mind talking to you about writing and about writing fiction.
Fire away.
In any event, since I've never spoken to you before, I have what I consider to be I guess no constraints in terms of questions. So let me make a statement to you, and I'd like your reaction to it. Because I've said this before on the show, and I think we're going to find out that this is correct. I suggest that we are about to see what I would consider the greatest population migration or shift ever, possibly in the history of the United States, even including that of the 1930s Dust Bowl, and maybe even perhaps that of Manifest Destiny in the 1800s. And I am suggesting that this is all going to be due to politicians and politics, and it's already starting, and it's going to change the entire environment of the United States of America. John Truman Wolfe, any thoughts about that?
Well, yes. I've got, I don't know how many friends, I haven't stopped to count them, but are moving out of California to Texas or Arizona. What's going on in Sacramento is, let me just be uninhibited, it's a cesspool up there.
You're being kind.
These people are crazy. They're out of their mind. It drives me crazy because I love this state. As I said at the top of the hour, I'm a native here. I love it here. And when you have politicians like the current governor dictating the kinds of things that he's doing, it's appalling. So I have folks that are, friends that are, packing up and leaving. I've been here a long time. And the only reason I don't do it, to be dead frank with you, is I've got this place in the mountains. You're 4,000 feet up. I'm 6,000 feet up. And it's just magnificent up here, and I don't want to leave. And if I weren't up here, I'd head for Texas, where there's no income tax, or maybe Arizona. My former partner in my business management company moved to Prescott. He loves it there. And another friend, my wife's just having a birthday, and she called this friend of hers that's a caterer, professional caterer, and she said, "Well, I've just got time to do your party. Then we're moving to Texas." So that's one example of many. So there's a major shift. I saw the figures, Mark, from 2018, the number of people leaving California. I don't think the figure, at least I haven't seen them figures out in 2019. But some point people go, "That's enough." He's going to raise personal. Where did I saw something today? Personal income taxes going up again in California. I was in Los Angeles County. Where I am now is actually in Kern County, but LA's got their own LA County's got their own tax on top of the state tax, of course, on top of the federal tax. So, you know, you when you look at what, I mean, don't get me started, which you already have, but you look at what's going on in the school systems in this state, forget the rest of the country, and the insanity that one witnesses in Portland and Seattle, Chicago. I mean, Chicago's a war zone. This stuff begins with the teaching of children.
Yes.
And these generations have grown up now. You've got a couple of generations that have grown up with this kind of thinking that, the founding fathers are insanely bad people, and this educational thing that they push, 1619. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yes, I am.
Taking a look at American history from the viewpoint of the slaves that landed here. Nobody's proud of slavery, for goodness sakes, but to view American history from that viewpoint is simply false. People are leaving. I don't know if it's going to be as massive as you suggest. It may well be. Businesses are packing up, and I don't blame them.
No,
I don't blame them.
I can't. See, that was the point of asking the question, is that, yes, you're going to have citizens that are deciding that they're going to leave various locations, predominantly those who lean left, but there are folks on the left and many what I term Democrats, people here listening to the show have heard that for a long time. Those folks are of the strident opinion that it's the duty of business, any business, every business, large or small, to be ruined, changed, manipulated to any extent they wish in order to enable whatever agenda they deem important at any given hour. So it's your job, business, to take it on the chin for whatever the agenda du jour happens to be. And as you indicated, yeah, it's not just people. People vote with their ballot, and they also vote with their feet. So as you indicated, businesses are leaving too. That's a big change.
Yeah, the problem with the scenario that you mentioned is that these folks that attack business as some kind of evil don't have the intelligence and foresight to look down the future track just a little bit and see, oh, you get rid of the businesses, oh, there goes your tax basis.
Yes.
There goes,
yes.
There goes the ability even to pay welfare. If you want to look at it from their perspective. So it's a matter of not just straight non-survival. Anyway, I mean, we could talk about this for a long time. The insanity that is going on in across the country, but Sacramento. I think it's I don't know. I mean, I don't know every state legislature, but it's the worst that I'm aware of, and I watch this stuff pretty closely. These people are crazy. They're actually nuts.
I couldn't agree more when I say that I am broadcasting 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast. This studio is actually literally 2 miles east of the Capitol building in downtown Sacramento. Folks, we're talking to John Truman Wolfe. He's on tonight for the first hour. We're just about ready to take a break. When we come back, I want to ask him about the coronavirus and what Mr. Wolfe may perceive as any short-term effects on business, any long-term effects on business. And then also when we get back, I'd like to get into his book about the coming crisis. There are, so many questions I have about that. I am BZ. This is the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. My guest tonight is John Truman Wolfe. So we will, folks, be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian Sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty voided Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Always spell it with a K. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the button, subscribe to SHR Media, and share. If you are watching on Facebook, hit the share button there too. Bing! Share. Sharing is caring. And also, if you happen to be listening on Spreaker, hit the share button there as well. Tonight, in the first hour, I'm speaking to John Truman Wolfe, a gentleman that I've never spoken to before. He is a financial expert. His CV, you missed it at the beginning, is absolutely stellar. Before the break, I asked Mr. Wolfe if he could tell us a little bit about what he might perceive as the short-term effects on business in terms of the effect of the coronavirus, and what some of the long-term effects on the coronavirus might be. Mr. Wolfe, what do you think, sir?
Well, I think it's a problem. It doesn't take rocket scientists to figure out that a lot of, although things are turning around, that a lot of businesses have suffered over the last 3-4 months. They've been closed. Some of them are never going to reopen. Some will reopen as a shadow of their former selves, and others will come back normally. So you don't take an economy and just shut it down, as these Looney Tunes in Washington have done, and have it just bounce right back. On the one hand, there's definitely improvement. On the other hand, there's still millions and millions and millions of people out of work. I got my son's in the business up in Northern California. The governor shut him down. He manages his wife's beauty salon. They shut him down. They open up. They are open for 4 days. They shut them down again. And now they're open. It's insane. The other point of this is this. The Fed has pumped I don't know what the exact number is because it varies depending on what report you read, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 trillion with the T dollars into the economy. Now, you and I'm sure, many of your listeners know that the Fed doesn't have any money and they just make this up. It is literally money out of thin air. They click a mouse. That's it. There is no money there, but they have increased those zeros and ones by $4 trillion. Now, when that happens, and just to be really simple about it, inflation is by definition the amount of money in circulation in relation to the goods and services. If you and I, Mark, are in a room with another 10 people and everybody's got $10 in their pocket and I'm at the front of the room and I've got an orange, and the money is going to bid for that orange, people are going to want the orange. So the cost of the orange is going to be $10. But if all of those people have got $100 in their pocket, the money will bid for the orange, and the orange will probably go for $100, certainly more than $10. So right now we've got an increase of, let's say, $4 trillion, and the productivity of the products and services being bid for by that money hasn't moved. Our GDP our gross domestic product has been flat or down. So inflation will come. So that's a major, besides the fact that, folks are going to have to struggle to get back on their feet, and some are going to have to change professions or close their businesses. Besides that, inflation will come. And I think the closing down of this economy is one of the most oppressive things I've ever seen. But it will have effects, and one of the effects will be longer term effects will be inflation.
Okay, it's funny you should mention that. I have somebody in chat who asked me a question, and I have somebody on the line who wants to ask you a question as well. Mike Pasqua in chat asked, what does Mr. Wolfe think of the Fed pumping money into the stock market and thus keeping it artificially high? You've mostly answered that question. And so I have somebody on the line who would like to ask you a question, and let's see. Who might this be? And you're speaking to John Truman Wolfe right now. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, this is Simone. Thank you for being on BB's show tonight, Mr. Wolfe. I actually have 4 questions, and I'm going to start out with the dumbest one, I think.
Okay.
Is there really a coin shortage?
Well, I don't know. People keep reporting that to me. Apparently there is. I don't have a lot of hard data on that, other than a lot of input I've gotten from other folks that they're having a hard time getting change. I can't be more, fact-based with my answer than just anecdotal experience. But there seems to be.
Huh. So then it just follows when I see these signs that say coin shortage, and not everybody has a sign that says that. It makes me wonder, are banks going to go under and then keep our money? I mean, is that even possible? And how about, will there ever be no real cash? Are we going to all end up with like the mark of the beast or something and have tattooed arms, and that's how we're going to be having commerce?
Well, it's a very perceptive question. What was your name, ma'am?
Simone?
So, Simone,
yes, Simone.
There is a war on cash on this planet, a major war on cash on this planet. Cash is going away. This isn't some conspiracy theory or whatever. Cash will be gone probably in your lifetime. So what do they replace it with? They'll replace it with digital currency in your bank account, zeros and ones. One thing, and I'm just in the process of I'll back up and sound like a used car salesman again, but it's important relative to the question that you asked. I'm just writing this month's issue of my newsletter, and I am writing it on the extent of what are called CBDCs, that's central bank digital coins. This is a massive movement on the planet. The senior bank on planet Earth is called the Bank for International Settlements. It's in Basel, Switzerland, and it is the central banker's central bank. So 60 of the major central banks on the planet, the Fed, the Bank of Italy, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of Canada, all belong to this bank in Basel, Switzerland, which I hasten to add very quickly is immune from prosecution. In Switzerland, the Swiss laws don't apply to it, and they have their own law enforcement police on the property. It's like a little nation unto itself, the Bank for International Settlements. So they're the major bank. They have dictated. They dictate to the central banks of the world. Those central banks then govern the money in their respective countries. They did a survey last year. That bank did a survey last year and found that close to 80% of the central banks on the planet are in the process of either rolling out or investigating rolling out CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. That means that the money is going to, in your bank account, is going to be zeros and ones. No more cash. No more cash. I repeat, it's going away. I've written articles on this in my newsletter. There will be no more cash. Now, what's the problem with digital currencies in your bank account? Well, the government can follow you. You know, privacy is gone. Individual liberty is gone. And this is coming, folks. I'm telling you without question, this is coming. And if you want to get the details, well, I'm not going to promote the newsletter again, but I'm writing an in-depth article on that subject right now. Sweden, the Ukraine, the Bahamas, Tunisia, Senegal, South Africa, China. China is the leading economy on the planet pushing digital currencies. 4 states in China are now using digital currencies. No money, no cash, none, zero, zip. They're paying people with digital currencies. So this is coming. And we can talk, you know, Mark asked the question, we can talk about what the solution to that is. But this is not something way off in some space age future. This is happening right this minute. Hope that answered that question.
Wolfe, the other thing, Mr. Wolfe, is at least here in California, if it's all digital currency and it's all zeros and ones, as you know, here in California, you know, PG&E and the governor shut the power down. So I guess we could all be, you know, bankrupt in the moment that we lose all our electricity.
Well, yeah, I mean, the state and PG&E have their problems. We could get into that in some length. Whether or not there's going to be a banking financial crisis countrywide, I believe there is. There are 1.2 quadrillion dollars worth of derivatives in the banks on the planet. Now, before you go to sleep, a derivative is just basically a security that derivative derives its value from some underlying asset. And most of that $1.2 quadrillion are what are called interest rate swaps, which is banker speak for bets on the direction of interest rates. So Bank of America goes, the interest rate on Greek bonds is going up, and Deutsche Bank goes, no, they're going down, and they bet. And that bet is a derivative, and people bet on those bets, and people bet on those bets, and it's a pyramid of bets on these Vegas-like securities, and there are $227 trillion worth of derivatives in U.S. banks. And it is my opinion that sooner or later somebody's going to stick a pin in that bubble, and there will be a banking crisis. That means the banks will probably shut down for a few weeks. You won't have access to your ATM or your credit card. I think that's coming. I don't like, projecting bad news, but forewarned is forearmed. So I think it's much more serious, frankly, than Gavin Newsom and PG&E.
Those are great questions, Simone.
It's just like the stock market. That those guys are all gamblers. That's what they're doing. They're gambling. It's like a giant card game.
Well, and the problem with it is, Simone, is that this bank in Switzerland has implemented a policy called bail-ins. A bail-in means that if your bank is troubled, is going under, the bank has the authority to take your deposits, some of your deposits, and convert your money to bank stock. Now, this is not some pipe dream. This exists. It exists in Europe. It exists in Canada. And it exists in the United States. The Dodd-Frank bill made it possible here. So this bank in Switzerland saw that the major banks were pregnant with these derivatives, and they gave them a tool that if there's a financial crisis, they can save themselves by bailing in, taking their depositors' money.
Wonderful.
This isn't some, I repeat, some conspiracy theory. Dodd-Frank made this possible, and there's actually a paper online written by the FDIC and the Bank of England on how it would operate. There are solutions to this which we can talk about, but bail-in policy exists. You've got to be careful the bank in which you have your deposits. And there's some other solutions that we can talk about.
Well, Mr. Wolfe, I'll get off the line. I'll get off the line now, and you can finish talking to BZ, and I'll be listening in because maybe there's other callers. Thank you so much again for talking in Crayola talk because you made some big words understandable for me. Thank you. Thank you, BZ.
Thank you, Simone. Those were good questions. Really appreciate it when you call in. Okay, now there's.
And it's a good metaphor, Mark. But the middle name is Truman, like Harry Truman, not Thurman.
Oh, I'm sorry, Truman.
That's all right. John Truman Wolfe. Go ahead.
Alan Thomas in chat has said, is there some kind of a supposition or a possibility that the current president, Trump, wants to change from the central bank to a gold-backed dollar? Is that something that you see in the future?
Well, there's a lot of rumor to that effect. I think, unfortunately, I would say to the chat fellow, I don't see that as a possibility in the near future. There has been some activity by the Trump administration to co-opt the Fed and have the Fed do things that they normally don't do. I don't think it will ever, at least not for a while. I mean, things would have to change dramatically for the currency to become gold-backed. I had this is something China's trying to do, which is not an answer to the chat guy's question, but after I published my book on the global financial crisis, believe it or not, some friend of mine in Taiwan got the book to some people in Beijing. And then he sent me an email. He said, the government, the CCP would like to talk to you about what's in the book, the Chinese Communist Party. I thought it was a joke, I said, oh, good. Have them fly me over business class and put me up in this hotel. I happen to know about Beijing, and I knew this nice hotel. And then, email comes back. They'll fly you however you want. They'll put you up wherever you want. So long story short, the Chinese government flew me there at a very high cost, and I spent a week talking to some, reasonably high up people on the solution to the global financial crisis. One of the meetings I had was with the president of China Gold, the largest gold mining consortium on planet Earth. This guy's got 40,000 employees. He was buying up gold mines around the planet like Pac-Man, and their very dedicated intention is to back the yuan with gold. They're not there yet. Whether or not they're going to do it, I don't know. But interestingly, China is rolling out a digital currency as we speak. As we speak, 4 states in China, in a test with the government's having a trial, a pilot with 4 states, and they're operating on digital currency there, and employees are being paid with digital currency. So this is coming. I'm not sure I answered the fellow's question, but that's my answer.
Perhaps, let's see, we got about 8 minutes left. John Truman Wolfe, perhaps the most elemental question of all that, to my knowledge, most every politician or president has absolutely avoided in the past 30 years is, why does no one ever talk about the federal budget, printing money, and the crisis that you mentioned, which, in my opinion, is sure to come in one way or another? It's like whistling past the graveyard.
Well, I can't agree with you more. I write about that often. These people, and I'm talking to Congress now, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, these people are heroin junkies. They cannot balance a budget. They cannot have enough integrity to actually balance a budget. And you get that the government does financial planning backwards. I'll try and be fast with this. They go, okay, good. How much are we going to spend this year? Interest, welfare, war. Okay, $4.5 trillion. Good. What's our income? $3.5 trillion. Oh, we're $1 trillion short. What do? They borrow it, as you know. They issue IOUs, which are called treasury bills, treasury notes, treasury bonds, IOUs, and they just borrow. And as you know, I'm sure, the national debt's around $27 trillion. And it used to be that the Republicans would put the brakes and, dig their heels in on that. Oh. No more.
No, not anymore. You got it.
So both parties are drunk with this stuff. And I don't know. I mean, the only person that I'm aware of that really opposes it is Rand Paul, as his father did. But it's a sad state of affairs, frankly.
That also speaks to the little L libertarian in me. John Truman Wolfe, can I also gloss through at least the one book that you wrote, Crisis by Design, The Untold Story of the Global Financial Coup. Now, when you're talking about a global financial coup, in what reference are you saying that? To the collapse, or is there something else yet that we have not addressed here?
Well, that book details how the bank and it was written after the 2008 global financial crisis. But that book details how that crisis was fomented and directed by the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland. I repeat, most people have never heard of that bank. This is, this is the wizard behind the curtain, the Bank for International Settlements. And one of the purposes of that collapse, which is something we haven't talked about, is the attack on the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency of the world, as the main currency being held by central banks on the planet.
Yep.
And that crisis, among other things, and take more than the remaining minutes we have to explain it, but it was, among other things, designed to take down the dollar as the global financial currency, and it's in the process of doing that as we speak.
This just went through my brain housing group right now. I don't know in what fashion you're inclined to do so or not, but with all these questions, I have to admit I was having a difficulty because the topic is so broad, so large, so huge, so consequential. Would you ever consider coming back to the show and maybe we can focus in on some more limited type topics? I know I've been all over the map, and people, thank you for listening tonight, and I appreciate your being conciliatory with me with regard to that. But there's so much to address about this right now. And I was going to ask, because it seems to me that there are a number of nations, I think the BRIC nations for one, were trying to ensure that the dollar was no longer, in fact, the world's reserve currency. So this isn't just pie in the sky stuff. There are nations attempting to knock us over then, are they not, John Truman Wolfe?
Well, first of all, relative to your thing, I'd be delighted to come back. Let's be in touch digitally, and we'll set something up. Two, of course, the BRICS, which for folks that don't know is an economic organization set up outside of the United States to do exactly what Mark says, which is deal in their own currencies, not the U.S. dollar. BRIC stands for, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South America.
Yep.
This is an economic organization, basically, and they now trade goods in their native currencies. This was unheard of a few years ago. All international trade was done with the dollar. That originated when Nixon sent Henry the K to Saudi Arabia to negotiate a deal which resulted in the petrodollar. That deal said any purchase of oil would be done in U.S. dollars. In return, the U.S. will protect your oil wells. Saudi Arabia agreed. The other OPEC countries agreed. And so for decades, all oil has been purchased in dollars, and that has kept the dollar strong. That agreement is falling apart, and the dollar is ceasing to become the world's reserve currency.
We have 2 minutes left. This hour went by as I prognosticated, like zip, boom, bada bing, bada boom. Final question for you, John Truman Wolfe, is this. November 3rd, one of the questions that was suggested, two of the questions that were suggested to me in terms of impact on business. What if Trump wins? What if Trump loses?
Well, obviously if he wins and he won't have another election to worry about, I think he will, plow through implementing, his policies. I'm not a registered Republican or Democrat. I'm a registered independent.
So am I.
That said, Donald Trump has got his warts. And in my opinion, in many cases, he ought to shut up. Somebody ought to turn off his Twitter account. That said, as somebody with a master's degree in American history, he's the most productive president in the history of this country. So what he does has been very pro-survival for the nation. What he says, he should just shut up. But he will continue with what he's doing. I mean, the list of his accomplishments is actually, in face of the, the opposition has been stunning. If he loses, God help us. I don't know what else to say. You're going to have Joe Biden, who's, on the opening fringes of dementia, as president, and both, as you may have seen, Kamala Harris and Biden, both yesterday, I think it was yesterday, both called if they win, a Harris administration.
Yes.
And they both backed up and they went, no, but this is the cat out of the bag. So if Trump loses, clearly taxes will go up. individual liberty will suffer, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But we'll see what happens. I'm afraid if Trump wins, there's going to be riots.
That's a given. I think that's going to occur whether he wins or not. This will not stop.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so John Truman Wolfe, number one, thank you for being here tonight. I grandly appreciate it, and thank goodness you didn't have to stay up so late from the East Coast. Number two, please tell people again where you can be found, read, your websites, etc.
Yeah, folks, if you want to stay up with this in this digital currency revolution that is going on, because I'm going to continue to write about it, it's important for people to know. www.strategicfinancialintelligence, a mouthful, strategicfinancialintelligence.com. Sign up for the newsletter, and I'll keep you informed. I also make recommendations on investments that have done very, very handsomely.
Well, excellent. John Truman Wolfe, number one, I apologize for mispronouncing your middle name. Thank you for being here. I hope you had, if nothing else, an interesting time, and thanks again, sir. Good night. Please be safe up there, up in the mountains. Take care, and God bless, sir.
Same to you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. That was John Truman Wolfe. I go into interviews like this with people that I've never spoken before, and they can go one of two ways. Either they can tank, and thankfully, I have not had any of those interviews yet. Or, like John Truman Wolfe here, they can be stellar. I enjoyed the hell out of that, and I hope you learned something. I'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunetz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunetz.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right. We're back. So please join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It is he that is me, bringing perspective from across the sea. Join me, Jack Alexander, 4 days a week for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the news and issues affecting life and liberty here in the USA. I'll show you what the mainstream media refuses to. Politics, border security, defense, healthcare, travel, nothing is off limits. Catch the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast each Monday to Thursday on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere good podcasts can be found. Also, check out the website www.jackalexanderexperiment.com.
Southern Sense is conservative talk with Annie, the radio chick you bellows as host, and C.S. Bennett co-host. Informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey. Annie is a top conservative host on Top Talk Radio and features some of the finest guests packed with important politicians and newsmakers. Listen every Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 Pacific, on the SHR Media Network. Remember, Southern Sense is common sense.
After 6 years covering terror and corruption, the Unpleasant Blind Guy is making a change. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker and YouTube through SHR Media and on the Western Free Radio Network as I team up with Jeff Mitchell, host of the English Defense League radio show on blogtalkradio.com. Check show pages for airtimes. It's the Unpleasant Blind Guy.
On EDL Radio.
There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the second hour of the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. In the first hour, I had John Truman Wolfe. He is a financial expert, and it was, before I do that, see, I am one of the world's crappiest self-promoters. Jesus, BZ, would you remember to promo your show? Okay, wherever you're listening or watching the show, please share the show. Hit share, hit send, subscribe. Oh, shoot, I haven't changed my hat yet. Okay, all right. See, there's too many damn thoughts going around in my head right now. Continue with what you were saying, BZ. Okay, why don't I do that? On YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit share if you're watching it right there. Not C-H-E Shar, share, like Sonny and Shar, or share. Sonny's dead, by the way. He died in a skiing accident. No. And on Facebook, hit share. If you're watching on Spreaker, hit share. Subscribe to everything. Promo the heck out of me. Okay, I've finally done that. I got that out of the way. Yeah, Whiskey Dale in chat says, Cher, is she watching in the show? Hey, welcome to Jack Alexander, the Alaskan, Mike Pasqua, Sergeant Booker, Simone, Alan Thomas, Whiskey Dale, one viewer, and a whole passel of other people. Nate in the Facebook chat, Jeremy in the Facebook chat, Jimmy Collins in the Facebook chat, Sarah in the Facebook chat. Thanks for being there all over the place. So now I'm going to have Alan Thomas, and this is me removing my headphones because I have to change hats. My hat right now says legalize freedom. Well, let's put on the second hour hat, which is now this one that has the flying saucer and the Bigfoot emblem on the hat. See? Now do you see this? I got one of these hats for Alan as well. Hey, let's see. Turn that off. Turn that on. Alan, are you there, sir?
Yes, sir. How are you, Mr. BZ?
Excellent, excellent. Now, I'm sure that you're probably doing this even though we can't see you. I'm sure that in sympathy with me, you are also wearing the alien UFO light shining from the UFO above on the Sasquatch below hat, like the one that I'm wearing right now. I happen to love the hell out of this hat. I think this is a great hat.
Me too. And everywhere I go, everybody loves it. Cool.
I think it's a great hat. Before we get into, I wanted to have you on here tonight, number one, just because you're such a cool cat. And number two, because of the wildfires and the impact that I think they're going to be having on some of the flora and fauna around here in California. Always spell it with a K, because I'm sure that that's all going to be very impactful. We'll get into some buttery political goodness as well. But as I customarily do in the show, because this won't take more than, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 seconds or so, because it's just a bunch of really quick figures that I have to go over. Let's do this.
The Bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com Chicago Death Toll Update. Courtesy of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
And if you want to find out how many people have died recently in Chicago, hey, illustrating Chicago values, go to HeyJackass.com. September to date, shot and killed in the city of Chicago, 40. Shot and wounded, 179. Total shot, 219. Total homicides, September to date, 46. Week in progress, September 13th through September 19th, shot and killed, 11. Shot and wounded, 52. Total shot, 63. Total homicides, 13. Year to date, here we go. Shot and killed, 516. Shot and wounded, 2,513. Total shot, 3,029. Total homicides, 566. Hey, no problem with that at all. This just came out today. There's breaking news. Alan Thomas, again, thank you for being here tonight. This is a 2-minute audio clip that I have not heard anywhere today. This is from OAN. One America News. I put it on social media. I haven't had it knocked off yet, but give it time. Listen very carefully to what this happens to say, folks, about our presidential candidate, Joe Biden.
Presidential candidate and former Vice President Joe Biden finds himself in more hot water this week. Just confirmed, a Ukrainian court ordered Joe Biden to be formally listed in a criminal case. The crime? The alleged firing of Ukraine's former prosecutor general Viktor Shokin in exchange for dropping an investigation into Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and the company for which he was a board member, Burisma Oil. Shokin formally called for an investigation into his firing back in February of 2020, claiming the Ukrainian government at the time relieved Shokin of his post in exchange for $1 billion in loan guarantees promised by Biden, a bribe Biden himself admitted to doing.
The prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
But at the time Shokin called for this case back in February, the courts listed one of the defendants as an unnamed American, an individual widely understood to be Joe Biden, Obama's Ukraine point man. But Biden was never formally named. Now, the courts have ruled it is improper to conceal Biden's name and that there is sufficient evidence to proceed with an investigation. The ruling cannot be appealed. Another key development in this story is the release of a series of telephone conversations that has garnered major questions. Andrei Derkach, a member of parliament in Ukraine, in a press conference Tuesday released what he says appear to be voice recordings of then Secretary of State John Kerry, Vice President Joe Biden, and then President of Ukraine Poroshenko, discussing the Burisma case and discussing the removal of Viktor Shokin. Neither Kerry, Biden, nor Poroshenko have affirmed the verity of these recordings. The recordings appear to have been leaked from government officials and whistleblowers, but are currently being verified. Ukrainian President Zelensky stated he anticipates more developments over the course of the summer and says the case could qualify as high treason. Candidate Biden has yet to respond to this latest development. Chanel Vian, One American News, the White House.
High treason.
Wow.
Presidential candidate Joe Biden listed as a criminal suspect in a Ukrainian court. This is big, and because of its size, watch it be tamped down by the American media maggots. If anyone else happens to play this, anyone tonight, I'll be ever so very surprised about that. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find this, because this plays perfectly. Here we go. How many of you folks, and Alan too, Alan, do you happen to watch Fox News?
Occasionally.
Okay. Something occurred yesterday during Harris Faulkner's show that was extremely, extremely awkward. And I wrote a piece in social media, sent it out to Harris Faulkner, and it got retweeted a couple of hundred times. For me, in my neck of the Twitter world, that's huge. What happened is, well, how about if I just play this on Fox News? Now, this is during the day. This is the Harris Faulkner show. I don't know if it's the Outnumbered show that she originally hosts, and then there's another show after Outnumbered with Harris Faulkner. But Melissa, gosh, what is her name? Melissa French, who I didn't expect this from, and Marie Harf, who's a massive leftist bint, they were having a conversation with Newt Gingrich. And I want you to listen what Newt Gingrich says, because it is the complete truth. And then watch them listen to them handle it, and listen to them cast this aside. I did not expect to hear this.
Talk to these people all the time.
This is
on
Melissa.
My business show at 4 p.m. and we put faces to the different small businesses that have been destroyed. And I have to tell you, many of those faces that we've had on are black and brown, and they have created a business from the ground up that is their entire livelihood. And they stood there while looters, rioters, protesters, whatever you want to call them, smashed their windows, threatened their customers. Many of them, as Marie points out, were trying to recover from the coronavirus when these folks came along and torched their businesses and brought them to the ground. They haven't seen any sort of relief. No one has come to help them. And I think for a lot of people, they see the numbers around the destruction and they don't think about that every one of those businesses is a family, is a face, is a person who is now struggling and has no way to support their family. That's who I want to see in this hearing. I want America to see the faces of these people whose lives have been destroyed by this violence.
Okay, now this is going to be leading up to Newt Gingrich. That was Melissa Francis, and she was talking about the consequences of violence and rioting and people in communities that suffered as a result. She is, however, on the Harris Faulkner show, who allegedly is in charge. Let's continue.
Yeah, it's so true. They represent everybody,
Harris.
right? Speaker Gingrich, I know you have a final thought for us.
Yeah, look, the number one problem in almost all these cities is George Soros elected left-wing, anti-police, pro-criminal district attorneys who refuse to keep people locked up. Just yesterday, they put somebody back on the street who's wanted for 2 different murders in New York City. You cannot solve this problem, and both Harris and Biden have talked very proudly about what they call progressive district attorneys. Progressive district attorneys are anti-police, pro-criminal, and overwhelmingly elected with George Soros's money, and they're a major cause of the violence we're seeing because they keep putting the violent criminals back on the street.
I'm not sure we need to bring
You'll
George
get the
Soros
last-
into this.
That was Melissa Francis.
I was going to say you get the last word, Speaker.
He paid for it. I mean, why can't we discuss the fact that millions
No,
of dollars
he
he
didn't.
spent?
I agree with Melissa. George Soros doesn't need to be a part of this conversation.
Of course, you're
Okay.
a leftist. Listen.
So it's verboten.
All right, we're going to. Okay, we're going to move on. A historic day at the White House.
Okay, did you hear what happened? You heard a little electronic click, and Newt Gingrich was cut off. Now, this is Harris Faulkner's show. However, Melissa Francis, in concert with Marie Harf, saying that George Soros funds Antifa and riots is something that you cannot now address, at least during the day, on Fox News. I didn't add any dead air to that. You can still probably go all over the internet and hear that subsequent dead air. My guess would be the producer of that show, that hour, is screaming in the ear, I should say, of Harris Faulkner, telling her, I'm dropping him, cut off. There was dead air. Now, Melissa Francis and Marie Harf got their wish. They acquired censorship on Fox News from the former Speaker of the House in the United States of America, Newt Gingrich. This is what passes for news during the day on Fox News. This occurred yesterday, so I wanted to make sure that I bring it to you today. And all I said essentially in the tweet to Harris Faulkner is, either you're a massive leftist or your producer was screaming epithets into your earpiece. But it looks stupid, it makes you look foolish, and I can't tell you how disappointed I am in you because it's your show. That's what passes for news on Fox News.
To me, it seems like they're bought off. Like, I mean, as soon as he said the name, I didn't see the clip, but I mean, you could, in your mind, see how they're reacted. I bet, it looks like somebody shot their dog, right in front of them. I can imagine their eyes popping out like, oh my God, did he just say that name,
We may have time to get into politics later. There's a whole bunch of stories that I wouldn't mind going after. Right now, however, because I'm terrible at promoting myself and it just passed through my wheelhouse, next Tuesday night, I am having a 3-hour SHR Media special report. It's going to be about the coronavirus. Why are we still in lockdown? It will be a special 3-hour report. It will contain all the news, the audio, and articles that you have never heard before, because I keep them. I save them for stuff like this. It has cost me probably 3 to 4 weeks' time to assemble this show. And the reason it's going to be 3 hours is because I want you to hear everything that you're not supposed to hear, and you're going to hear it. So next Tuesday night, instead of starting at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, 1 hour early. I will put social media out this weekend. I will put social media out on Monday and social media out on Tuesday. If you come here to the Saloon Tuesday night at 8 p.m., you will have already lost an hour of the show. Just want to let you know, I have everything that you're not supposed to hear. I keep it, I save it. An SHR Media special report. Why are we still in lockdown? And I will prove to you again, once and for all, if you have leftist friends, Democrats, anarchists, whatever, if they give a shit, you can refer them to the show. Because I'm also going to co-post it on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. And if they want facts, if they want information, if they want audio, if they want the statistics, because that's upon which I'm basing all of this, have them listen to the show live, and they can also listen in podcast later on. Next Tuesday night, a 3-hour SHR Media special report. Coronavirus, why are we still in lockdown? Where's the science? Starting at 7 p.m. Pacific and 10 p.m. Eastern. Okay, enough of that. Alan Thomas, again, thanks for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. I happened to see you on Jeffrey Gonzalez's show. And Jeffrey Gonzalez has said that he's going to have a whole bunch of people, whoever shows up, this coming Saturday night about 10:30, 11 o'clock near Kings River, and you guys are going to go listen for Sasquatches, and there could be a cast of thousands there, or a cast of multiple tens, maybe up to 100 people, who knows. That could be a very intriguing event. I want to tell you this, though, Alan. I want to go squatching with you. Mrs. BZ and I want to go squatching with you, with either yourself and Jeffrey, whichever is more convenient. Just kind of a small little unit. And I want to go just to say that I've been, and I'm sure it's an incredible thing. You have a FLIR now that you look through. I have NVG's, night vision goggles, that you've seen. And I think with the two of those, that could be a very interesting little trip. But first...
I believe so.
Yeah. First, I want you to tell people about your show and what it's about, and also that you're a paranormal, unidentified, unexplained UFO and Sasquatch hunter and researcher, and you have many, many years of investigating all of these kinds of things. When your show is on, tell us a little bit about your show, if you would, Alan Thomas.
Yeah, I do, my main thrust is the Sasquatch, or the Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it. And then I branch off, and at first I didn't intend on doing that. It just went together. You know what I mean? People would call me, they'd say, oh, they heard, and then they would call me about UFOs, or their house is haunted, or they've seen pterosaurs flying, or giant birds, or, just about everything you could think of. And I cover it on my show. I've been a little bit slow because of COVID and other personal things going on, that just makes it almost impossible. But I'm going to be picking it up here this month and getting a little more regular. I have plenty of content I've been editing, so I'm going to be bringing some edited content, and I'll do some live like how you're doing. And it's Sasquatch, or no, Squatch Zone. Yeah, I've been working on this new project. I don't know if I told you about it. I have a friend that he was retired law enforcement, and out of Los Angeles. He was a deputy, so he worked for Los Angeles County. And he retired, and then he moved up here into the mountains. That's where I met him. I lived in the mountains. And he had a syndicated radio show called The Radio Detective.
Oh, okay.
And he talks guns, and when he's doing the show, Clinton is actually in office, Bill Clinton. And he bags on Bill Clinton, and he talks a lot about what's going on politically. And what's amazing is it's all on cassette. So he has 2 trunk full of cassette.
Holy moly.
Yeah. And they're all 3-hour shows. And he did it 5 days a week. So and after like 7 years, so I mean, I got a ton of shows. Now I started it. I got a YouTube channel up called Radio Detective, and I'm starting to put shows on there. But it takes a long time to copy it from the cassette to the computer to make it digital, and then to edit all the ads and old phone numbers and all that stuff out, and then actually, because it was radio, put something up there for people to see, But I don't know, and I'm breaking the shows up into 1 hour and segments, because 3 hours takes forever to upload.
Oh yeah.
So I'm doing 1 hour at a time, but I usually can get them out in 3 days. 1 hour per day. That's transferring it from the cassette to the computer to the editing to the uploading to the YouTube. And it is so interesting. You'd be surprised the parallels. I mean, what they're talking about, and then now today we're seeing a lot of what they were postulating about, saying they're going to want to do, they're now doing it. And a lot of the people were ticked off back then. If this guy would roll over in his grave if he's seen what was going on today.
Well, hell, so would our founding fathers. Hey, folks, I'm not going to take a break right now. We're listening to Alan Thomas. I'm just going to do this in lieu of a break.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
So we're going to continue right up to the end of the show. And again, that's Alan Thomas. Sorry for interrupting. Just had to remind everybody. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, no problem. Well, that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm doing right now. And as for that thing on Saturday, I believe there's probably going to be about 40 or 50 people out there.
Okay. And
this relates to the fire. We have a huge fire. It's burned, nearly 200,000 acres or something like that. The biggest thing I ever saw in my life. And it's pretty much burned up every Sasquatch hotspot that I like to go to, and my camping spots, my favorite camping spots. And now, everybody asks me, what are they doing? You think they're burning or anything? Actually, I don't. In my research, I found they live underground.
Okay.
In natural caverns, and they're all over the Sierras, even all the way up your area. There's caverns, big, huge ones. And some of them nobody knows about. They're way off in the wilderness, and these things hide the entrance. They put boulders in front of it. Now, they're big enough where they can move a boulder. We can't. So they can block it where you wouldn't see it with a camera or binoculars or anything. So you'll never find where they live, but they live under there. I don't think too many got hurt by this fire. Now, Mount St. Helens, that's a different thing. A lot of people tell me, well, Mount St. Helens. Well, Mount St. Helens blew up.
Right.
Like fast. They might have been a few miles away from getting underground, and, they got torched. And I heard, from a friend, I lived up there when the volcano blew up, and he was a hotshot firefighter and got called up to go help save people that were caught in that blast. And he said that he's seen a helicopter. He thought it was bears on a cargo net. And when he got there, the military stopped him and said, wait right here. But the helicopter was powering up, and then it took off and then flew towards him. And he's seen huge hands and feet hanging out of this cargo net. He said it looked like maybe 15 or 20 of these things in it. And it went like 10 feet over his head, and he knows what he saw is what he told me. And I didn't believe in Bigfoot. I made fun of him and all that. I wished I didn't do it now, but I did.
Doesn't that remind you of Kandahar?
No, this is Mount St. Helens, but it does remind me, of the Kandahar giant, how they
transported that guy out.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
That's the first thing I
Exactly
thought
like
of.
that. Hmm.
So,
and he said some of them were like the size of 15 feet that he could see, and they were all piled up in there, but the ones on the net that he could see really close, he said they were huge. Whatever they were, he didn't even know what they were, really. He just said these, hairy ape things. I go, you mean Bigfoot? And then I started making jokes at him, and I wish I didn't do that. But
you mentioned caverns, and while you were talking, I looked them up in California. Lava Beds National Monument, extensive. The Arroyo Tapadillo, extensive. The Balconies Cave and Bear Gulch Cave, huge, extensive. Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks. The Biden Cavern in Kings Canyon. Black Chasm Cavern National Landmark. The Lava Tube, Mojave National Preserve. The Subway Cave. The Cave of Munitz. Mitchell Caverns, Bighorn Mine, Lawrence Welk Caves, the Van Dalen Caves. They just go on and Mammoth, the Mammoth Caves. They just go on and on and on. Plus, I think this may have even been addressed last night on Jeffrey's show. Isn't there supposed to be a rather extensive cave system right around and or underneath Fresno, California, in kind of the area where you guys live?
Yeah, there is. It's a tunnel system the cronies used, back in the day, when Fresno's kind of weird. The San Joaquin River runs and it empties into the Bay Area, into the Bay. And they've stopped that. We're trying to change it because of the little fish. And they're really trying to put the farmers out, but that's a whole nother thing. But back in the day, they had paddle boats that would go from San Francisco on up here to Fresno, and they were gambling boats. So there was a lot of gambling and all kinds of stuff going on, nefarious activity. And they used caves to hide the prostitution and, the alcohol. When they didn't have alcohol, they used the caves to transport the alcohol and all that, and money and all other kinds of, whatever they do, the bad guys do. So, yeah, they're all over. And those caverns, from what I understand from the Native Americans, is they run all the way from Canada all the way down here. So they could actually go from Canada to here and other places in the United States without even coming out of the caves. So they're extensive.
I find that really interesting. The other aspect that I wanted to talk about tonight is, okay, because of this, they're underground, but though haven't the ones that might have been at elevation, aren't they dispersed, displaced, and might they not be coming down into the lower elevations because of all of that now including the wildfires?
Yeah, and that is why we're having that little night sit by the river. And I'm actually going to go early as in, daytime. And I'm going to fly the drone around and look for sign. But there's people reporting, and I thought I was the only one getting the information, but Jeff has been getting it. And then as I put my little feelers out to the community, the Bigfoot community around here, everyone's talking about these Bigfoot running and slapping their houses and slapping the top of the roof. Dogs, cats, goats, sheep, all chickens, all small animals are disappearing more than ever right now. They're finding tracks. Things are scaring them back into their house. They'll go out at night and something will scream so loud that it makes their hair fall off, and they run back in the house and they don't know what it is. And we know what it is, so we're going to go out there, and we're going to hit. I'm going to try to hit some of the places also that I've talked to, and see if the activity is picked up or dropped off or whatever since I talked to him last.
Alan Thomas, don't you think, though, that all of these wildfires are going to end up displacing a whole lot of essentially bipedal cryptids from one place to another? I mean, it's killing their habitat. Trees are going down. The animals that they would be using for food, etc., they're scarce. They've moved. By necessity, they're going to have to migrate as well, too, aren't they?
Yeah, but only you'd be surprised how fast, once the fires would go out, how fast the animals will come back in. Like, 'cause in the springtime, everything will be sprouting, the ground cover and everything, and it'll be actually more healthy for them. Little animals and birds and all that kind of stuff will come back. Deer, you'd be surprised how fast. That's one thing I always say is you can't kill Mother Nature completely. I mean, I guess you could if you nuke the whole world, but Mother Nature bounces back so fast, and I actually think they'll be absolutely fine. Other things have happened, ice age and all kinds of stuff, and they're still here. So
I found that out. There aren't very many people that are going to be listening to this or know a reference to what I'm about to say. When I was in law enforcement, I was the sergeant at a place called EVOC for law enforcement, and that's the Emergency Vehicle Operations Course. And it was over by Mather Air Force Base in Rancho Cordova. I think it's still there, I'm sure, with a lot of other different agencies that were working there. One day, the people at EVOC, the people that work there, decided they were going to kind of dam up a little creek and create a pond. And we had a little pond, and it was just a mud pit for a while, but it was kind of nice, and they did it, and they thought it would be interesting to look at. And then magically, over the course of about 6 months to a year, the waters cleared up. We got tons of vegetation. We got frogs in there. We got egrets. We got rushes. We got tules. It became its own ecosystem itself. Then we got little
fish and everything.
Then we got little fish in there.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how the hell does this happen? Where do the frogs come from? Where do the fish come from? All the birds went there. The water was clear. It did become its own little ecosystem. So this planet is a lot smarter and healthier and strong and resilient than we can possibly imagine. That was just a little aside that made me think about that. I found another story, Alan Thomas. This was from Mail Tribune. Let's see, Monday, August 3rd. So just last month. I don't know if you know anything about this, but it says Oregon ranks the highest in Sasquatch sightings. The Oregonians, if you happen to be looking for an answer to Bigfoot critics and you want to finally elevate the nearly mythical hairy backwoods brute from the science fiction section to biology books, you just might be in the right place if you're in Oregon. Oregon has the highest rate of reported Sasquatch sightings per capita for a state without a sales tax. That's kind of a strange criteria. According to data collected by the Bigfoot Field Research Organization that for decades has hoped to prove that it's real. So on the heels of that particular article, Alan Thomas, how close, well, number one, what do you think is going to happen with Bigfoot sightings? And then number two, how close or far do you think we are from capturing incontrovertible photos or video of an actual Sasquatch or Bigfoot, or maybe even going so far as to say, capture one? Are we close?
It's already been done. And more than once, we got over 600 DNA samples. Just us have our own DNA sample. We have footprints, hundreds of footprints cast. We have pictures of them. We have a little video clips of them. They're like ninjas, so you don't get a long time. You just can't film them in their natural habitat like you can a bird or a bear or something like that. But glimpses. You walk up on them, and if you're ready, that's the part, and you don't freak out and stand there and go, blah, 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 Bigfoot, you know, and forget about your camera and everything because you're trying to process what you're seeing. You can get video. We have it. The government has Bigfoots. In fact, this is a fact. When people get too close, okay, like our spot that if we go Bigfooting, I'm going to take you to the spot because that didn't burn.
Oh, it didn't?
No, and it's going to be really active. Okay, that's right outside of Sequoia National Park, which is not very far from that big cavern, but I believe there's other entrances into those caverns, so they have their own ways in and out. They don't use the human way in and out, but it's right there. We've had trees pushed over. They come into our camp and tap on the tents and push down on them. You can hear them talking. Sometimes they scream like King Kong. I mean, that place is still there, and that's where we're going to go. But now when we started bringing evidence out of there and talking about it, you know, on YouTube and live stream, and at the time we had like 220,000 viewers on live stream.
Holy moly.
And yeah, we had a bunch. It was pretty fun. And we were opening for Art Bell. I mean, that's I think what really did it, really. But we were bringing all this out, and then now, before when we went in there all the time, it was wide open, no fences, no gates, no anything. Right after it aired on Finding Bigfoot, all of a sudden they're putting in these pole gates and pole fences, and they're filling them with foam, so you can't cut them. You know, like it makes it really hard to cut, I guess, torch or something like that. And they've made it where we can only go in there driving, you know, from like Memorial Day to Labor Day, and then the rest of the time you can't go in there, even though it doesn't snow. It's low altitude. It's like right in the foothill mountain range. Maybe it might snow a couple of times a year, but the snow melts off, you know, within a day or two.
Okay.
But they're blocking us out now. And I've asked them about it, and I ask them all these other questions not related to Bigfoot, and that's what they want to say. The reason is to save the forest, make it more pristine, you know, bring it back to the wild or whatever.
Okay. Actually
make it where there's going to be more fires is what I'm hearing, you know. But then when I tell them, well, you know, is it all that, or is it because we're bringing Bigfoot information out? And they get quiet and they just sit there. They don't have an answer for it. Okay. And then that tells me, guess what? You know, that's why they're doing it.
Exactly. No answer is, okay, there's your answer.
That's right, yeah.
There was a video that came out, Alan Thomas, just recently, earlier this week, and I'm going to play, I think I've got the audio here. Let me make sure that I turn this up. This was a UFO sighting in New Jersey. And people looked at this thing. It stopped traffic on the highway. They, okay, well, so much for that then.
Well, I can't play the researched that.
I did too.
I researched it.
And
well, I didn't see the news or anything. I didn't go that route.
Okay.
What I did was I screenshot like when the people that had the closest shot of it, you know, zoomed in shot, the best ones I could get. I screenshot them, and then I put them into a photo editor, and I zoomed in, you know, as far as I could, and I changed the contrast and the sharpness and stuff like that. And I thought it was a UFO. I really did. I mean, it looked really solid UFO. But then when I zoomed in, I could see the gondola, and I realized I was looking at a blimp. You know, but you have to zoom in pretty far in, you know, to see that, because it was off at a distance for them, and they're using cell phones. So it wasn't a crispy, clear picture, but I could share the pictures with you if you want. It is a blimp. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I brought that up because now I'm looking at insider.com, and it says viral videos of a UFO in New Jersey really captured a Goodyear blimp. Jeff was saying on his show, I don't think that they can remain stationary. The answer is, well, yeah, they can if the wind is not too terrible. So it turns out that on that, although it was cool to think about that so many people were able to see an alleged UFO. And the other thing that was interesting is all the people that were stopping on the road to take video of something as obvious as that. Well, it turns out it was a Goodyear blimp, and it was, it made a whole bunch of videos from tons of people.
And it doesn't mean there isn't UFOs.
Right.
I mean, the government is coming out with it. I mean, they absolutely came out with an article 2 months ago or something like that, where they said they have off-world craft. The government actually said that. And that, if they have it, they're back engineering it, and they probably have had it for a long time. And in my research, I found that they probably have agreements with some of these races that use that technology, or, they're coming out with it. And then Trump goes and makes a Space Force, and I know why he did.
Okay, why?
It's because we sold, our Democrats, they sold technology to China, some of this technology. And they now have weaponized satellites, and that's probably what is starting all the fires. Besides people, starting them, but some of the fires are starting way off in the backcountry where there's no roads. And, we were looking at a video the other day. It was a guy named Dutch Sense, and he tracks earthquakes. And if you go check him out, he looks at all the different things, and 3-4 weeks ago, he was tracking the earthquakes along California, and they were following the San Andreas Fault. No surprise there. But at the same time, there was fires breaking out along the San Andreas Fault, right where the earthquakes were.
Okay.
Now, while he was doing that, after several times going to this site and showing, the fires and stuff on the weather satellite, you could see the fire and everything. All of a sudden, these beams are coming in to the picture and hitting the fire, and the fire would glow even more, and then the beam would move, and the fire followed it. And he got it all on video. And then here today, all of a sudden, it was today, either today or yesterday, they came out talking about laser weapons, directed energy weapon. And, and they're talking about China and Russia already have them. Could they be, using them? They say they're going to use them to hurt our satellites and aircraft and stuff. But couldn't they be used differently? And what if we have it? And what if the Democrats that are causing all the hate and, all this stuff in America is using it also against their own country? I mean, they're using everything else against their own country. Why not?
Those are excellent questions. Before we go, I want to get to one final question.
Okay.
About what you think is going to happen November 3rd and beyond. Before we get there, though, I found a couple of articles intervening that I'd like to talk to you about. One of them, baynews9.com, and it's from Florida. It says, California and Florida have the highest number of reported UFO sightings. And I'm a member of MUFON, and the UFO sightings have increased. And as I was doing some research for this show tonight, I found this very interesting article, two of them, one from the Wall Street Journal, the other one from Fox News. And even, see, this stuff, folks, has gone mainstream.
Yeah.
One of the first entities I can't call them journalists because they aren't, broke in the New York Times about the UFOs that were seen by naval aviators and all the videos that emerged from that. This is an article that I just recently found September 1st. This is like, I don't know, 10 days or so ago, not long ago, from the Wall Street Journal, which is, I find this very interesting. And as soon as I read the headline, I went, oh, yeah, because it describes me. It says in the Wall Street Journal, UFO spotting has replaced bird watching as the pandemic obsession. Sightings are rising, and 2020 is shaping to be a banner year for close encounters, because people are looking up now, Alan Thomas, like never before. So, how long do you think before we finally capture someone captures one of the world's most stellar videos that no one can refute? How far away are we from that, do you think, Alan Thomas?
I would say it's already out there, but they're refuting it anyways and making fun of people. But only it's going to be now, like with your goggles and other people, where these things are more accessible and people can buy them. I think it's just a matter of time before these pictures start becoming so many and so frequent that they can't, it's going to be hard to say they're crazy, or, it's going to be hard to refute. And I would say this year, but maybe by the end of the year, maybe. I mean, the government's already, I think they see the writing on the wall. That's why they're coming out with it. A little bit at a time, but they're coming out with it. And what was the big thing when they did that, rushed the Area 51? And we all knew they would not be able to rush the gates and go running into Area 51.
Yeah.
They would never let them do that.
That's just silly.
But people are wanting the truth of anything, right? They want the truth from the government about everything.
Well,
all the BS they're doing about everything. UFOs, Bigfoot, the economy, why are we shut down with COVID-19, the whole thing. I mean, people are waking up.
I think we're on...
I don't think it's far.
No, I think you're right. I believe that we're on the cusp of something really bad and simultaneously something...
Oh, did I lose you?
No, I can still hear you. Can you hear me, Alan?
Did I lose you?
No, I can still hear you. I'm talking over here. Okay, and I see you there. Alan Thomas, let me hang up, and then I'll call you right back. In the meantime, I have become so personally obsessed with this that I'm in the process of starting a new blog, a new website, to detail some of the observations that I've made on my own. There you go.
I lost you.
There you go. Now you're back. Anyway, I was telling people that I'm in the process now, because of this, specifically this, in the time of Wuhan 19, I want to create a blog where I go into various UFO sightings, as I detailed on the last show with you. Man, since January, I've had 4 separate, distinct UFO sightings that I cannot explain, but I can tell you definitely in at least my brain housing group, they were UFOs.
Right.
And that got me interested in bringing back my NVGs at night. And let me ask you this about your FLIR. Does that have the capability to record?
Yes. But the only thing is it's not long distance. It's like close, I would say, 50 feet, maybe 75 feet.
Okay.
Clearly, anything past that. Well, I was looking at a helicopter, and I recorded that, and you could tell it's a helicopter real well. I mean, it's a helicopter.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it gets, up there into the higher atmosphere. I don't know if it can see it as well, because it just reads the heat signature. And from what I understand from the Tic Tac videos and what the government's putting out, the videos so far, these things don't really have an exhaust, so it's not giving off that heat signature that we could see with a FLIR.
Okay, well let me ask you this: we're at the top of the hour. I'm going to go maybe a couple of minutes, a little bit longer. I just want to remind people that you're listening to this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Alan Thomas, so let me ask you this. I think there's a large confluence of activities and energies. Major cataclysmic events will be converging, purposely or perhaps not, I don't know yet, right around November 3rd. I think that there's going to be, no matter who wins, I believe there's going to be violence in the United States of America from November 3rd, 4th, and on. It doesn't matter if Trump wins. Obviously, it's a given. If Trump wins, all the leftists and anarchists are going to attempt to turn this nation upside down.
Oh, yeah.
But simultaneously, there are a whole bunch of other events that appear to be merging in time, not just politics. So is there anything in consideration of that and any other elements that you might wish to mention? Alan Thomas, what are we looking at, do you think, in the future from November on?
Okay, now, I don't talk about this too much, but only I don't make it a secret either. I died twice.
Yes.
And when I came back, I have a close relationship with our Creator now, a closer one than I ever had. And he shows me things. And sometimes, like, he showed me some things in the 80s that is now happening now. But lately, he's been showing me this time frame that you're looking at.
Okay.
And what he's telling me, I mean, not like talking to me, voice and all that. He shows me these pictures and stuff like that and gives me impressions. And what I'm getting is he's bringing the dark to the light. And the dark is kicking and screaming, and they are fighting to not be found out or brought to the light. And actually, things will get worse, like you're saying, but by the end of next year, it's going to be, we're not even going to recognize the world. It's going to be a lot better.
So you're saying essentially
a lot better.
What we're looking at is essentially truly profound change on just about every level you can think of.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, everything's going to come out. Everything that was done in the darkness and hidden from us, and they're nefarious. And people could look it up. They're Satan worshipers. These people are Satanists. I mean, the whole abortion thing, what God showed me was that is Moloch. Okay, that they have to have blood to give them power on the earth, and the humans have to do it. Okay, so we really have the power. He has none. But if he can trick everyone into giving their power to him, or worshiping him, which gives him that power, then, and that's what's been happening for ages and ages, the dark ages, they called it, and the Reformation, all this stuff, that happened in the past, slavery and everything all the way up until today, all that is from this dark, evil thing. And what's going to happen is it's the end of the evil reign. Okay, now it's God said he made everyone and everything, including them, and he's tired of those people, us, giving our power away and watching his creations get all messed up. So now he's going to take it back. And I know that sounds crazy, But watch, okay, just watch. I'm watching. You can already see it happening. It's coming out. The alien stuff's coming out. The Bigfoot stuff's coming out. The child pedophilia is coming out. I mean, it's going to get really bad, and I have a feeling people aren't going to be able to handle just how deprived this is. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yes,
it
because
is so bad. People are going to flip their wig. They can't handle it.
Well, if you're in law enforcement, you know all about depravity. You've seen it, you've smelled it, you've touched it, you've probably arrested it.
Yeah.
I tend to agree
you don't
with
want
you.
to run into it when they get out of jail either. You know, you're like,
no.
Better run, punk.
Some of the worst things ever in my entire career have occurred to me in 2020, especially last week.
Really?
And that's one of the reasons that I wasn't on Tuesday night. I'm dealing with some things, let's just say. My response is, and everyone's response now anymore is, it's 2020. So because of that, I cannot say that I will be particularly eminently shocked to see whatever happens right around November 3rd. I think, of all people, Kevin Spacey summed it up pretty good right here.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And you know, the people that are running our government, and all the governments, not just our government, and you know what people need to wrap their head around. This is not Democrat, Republican. This is not just America. This is all around the world. Yeah, my wife says it's good versus bad. That's exactly what's going on.
It is, and that's how I typified this election on November 3rd. If you think it's all about Republicans versus Democrats, you couldn't be more wrong. It bottom line, foundationally distills down to it's about good versus evil and who will win.
Right. Well, I'm going to guarantee right here it's going to get worse before it gets better, because they have to all that darkness has to come out, and we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. And in fact, I've heard I have other people that I talk with that have the same gift as I do, and they, you know, we talk, and then I follow other people that have it, and everybody's all in agreement. That's what kind of tripped me out, is everyone's getting the same thing. It's going to get way, way worse. To make people crazy, people are going to go absolutely out of their mind, and once it all is out and everyone's arrested and executed and all that around the world, you know, the prince and everybody, it's going to get better. And everybody's going to keep their national, you know, it's still going to be their countries and all that stuff, but everybody's going to be more nationalist than this worldwide, you know, whatever Bush called it, New World Order, or whatever he called it. That's what they wanted. They had a 16-year plan. That's what they wanted to do to us. They were going to kill most everybody, only save 580 million people worldwide. That's not going to happen. All that's going to be revealed, all that, and we're going to see it get better. But it's going to get worse first.
Come November 3rd, this scene from Christopher Walken, I think, indicates and illustrates exactly what is about to happen, at least politically, on that Tuesday in November.
You watch those nature documentaries on the cable?
Yeah.
You see the one about lions? Yeah. Get this lion. He's the king of the jungle. Huge mane out there. He's laying down under a tree in the middle of Africa. He's so big. He's so hot. He doesn't want to move. Now, the little lion cubs, they start messing with him. Biting his tail, biting his ears. He doesn't do anything. The lioness, she starts messing with him, coming over, making trouble. Still, nothing. Now, the other animals, they notice this, and they start to move in. The jackals, hyenas, they're barking at him, laughing at him. They nip his toes and eat the food that's in his domain. They do this, and they get closer and closer and bolder, till one day, that lion gets up and tears the shit out of everybody, runs like the wind, eats everything in his path. Because every once in a while, the lion has to show the jackals who he is.
Who's the lion?
Man, that is good. Man, I never heard that before. That was really good. That was good.
We are the lions.
We're the lion, yeah. That's right. Silent majority.
And that is what's going to happen November 3rd.
It's all starting to happen, BZ.
Yep. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much.
Take care, sir.
You too. We'll see you later, okay?
Alrighty.
Hey, love all you guys out there in Radio Land.
That's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I had a great guest. I didn't anticipate how great this guy was going to be. John Truman Wolfe in the first hour, Alan Thomas in the second hour, and then coming this Tuesday night, a special SHR Media special report where I'm going to be talking about the coronavirus, why are we still in a lockdown, and what the hell happened to the science. 3 hours of nothing but facts, video, audio, and truth. Starting at a special time, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Next Tuesday night. Be here. Aloha. God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.